Well, as sort of an addendum to Chris Hedges' essay, I want to make some few remarks of my own here. The reason why I called this series of videos America's Weimar Moment is because essentially the economic situation in the United States is approaching that of Germany after World War I. And as this situation for most people continues to deteriorate, there will be plenty of fringe groups and demagoguery out there to convince you that a kind of scapegoat or scapegoating needs to take place in order to rectify the situation. This, of course, is precisely what the Nazi Party did by appealing to the disenfranchised lower and middle classes in Germany at that point. Now, mind you, of course, our situation is not nearly as bad as it was in Weimar Germany, because at that point the unemployment rate was 50% at that time in Germany. But the basic conditions for demagogues to take over, and you can see this on your own television via Fox or some of the major networks out there today, where Liz Cheney, Rush Limbaugh, Glenn Beck are all firing up the public in order to find those scapegoats. And if there isn't any opposition by sensible people towards this kind of rhetoric, I'm afraid it's going to end up very terrible for all of us. That's why I made the comparison to Weimar Germany, because the Germans were basically convinced by a few demagogues, people enough pissed off to take over public debate on the airwaves and through the media of their day. And this is essentially what is happening here in the United States. So please, people, think for yourselves. And don't let anybody goad you into scapegoating anybody. It is always easier to blame the weakest elements or people in society for everything that has gone wrong once shit hits the fan. It's equally dangerous to demonize those people who are essentially on the side of the people, but whose opinions are not broadcasts and never heard. You know, people like Bonhoeffer and people who spoke out against the Nazis were called Cassandras. You know, just basically predicting a whole bunch of bad shit, and it wasn't true. Well, unfortunately, it did turn out to be true. But their warnings were not heeded. I'm not implying here that our situation here is as bad as Weimar Germany, but it is approaching it rather quickly. all it will take is another major downturn in the economy. And in my opinion, this entire recovery is fake because the underlying problems have not been solved. In fact, they continue. And so as the next recession or depression becomes a reality for most people here, they will become even more angry and blame will fly all around. This, of course, is precisely what those at the very top want us to do, to fight against each other, to fight against segments of our own society. And this is what the Germans did. They ended up fighting against citizens in their own midst. And that didn't turn out too well in the end. Not only for those scapegoats who ended up being killed, but also not for many Germans who were basically vilified because essentially they believed in all this crap and went along with it. Just as we are being vilified by many segments around the globe. So think about these things very hard.